South Africa has lagged behind or developing effective structural development towards keeping up with global digital demands. The government has highlighted STEM education as a way forward, but is this enough? For today's Tech Talk, I'm joined by David Meintjes, who is MD of Connection Telecom. David, thanks so much for your time. Just remind us once again, where are we in terms of laying the ground for our ICT policy framework?
Hi, Fifi. Thank you for the discussion. We are probably lagging in a big way behind the rest of the world. We are the 72nd most connected country in the world, and we were about the 10th most connected in the late 90s. And the other countries have just advanced so much faster than what we have. And there's so much that we could be doing, but everything around the digital space and policy all lies on the foundation of making sure everybody in South Africa's got access to the internet.
For sure, and that is a big issue, particularly as we have seen movements nationwide for data to fall, and that I understand the commission is underway there. But what are the issues of contention here that are preventing us from moving forward, and in fact making us move back? As you have highlighted, we've dropped from being the 10th most connected country in the world to now number 72.
It lies in policy formulation on the one part. There's no lack of good intent. There's just poor execution over the last couple of years. Very few of the policies actually enabled the extension of the internet to everybody in the country, in particular the have-nots. 75% of all people in South Africa access the internet through a mobile device. The most expensive way to get to the internet is over a mobile device and that data. They could halve the cost, if not take it down to 1/5 of the costs, if they just did it properly on a Wi-Fi access network into areas which currently cannot afford internet in any other way. Any of the mobile devices can view or gain access to the internet over a Wi-Fi network. It would significantly reduce the cost of access and enable people to get that access. Currently, the government's considering auctioning off additional spectrum. It should actually make the availability of the new spectrum conditional upon doing certain things in areas which is currently poorly serviced from an infrastructure perspective to enable Wi-Fi access to those areas.
I mean, like what kind of things? Can you be a bit more specific for us?
Yes. So if you take Khayelitsha, Langa, Soweto, they need fiber access into those areas. There's many high sites, i.e. poles, which are quite highly positioned, which can carry radio equipment, under which you can actually deploy a Wi-Fi network. It's an alternate way of getting the devices connected to the internet other than through the current infrastructure of the GSM or mobile operators. The mobile operators are dominant, they're incumbent, and therefore are following pricing policies which protects the commercial interest of the incumbents.
So it sounds like you are saying that the monopoly that we do have in the telecoms sector is at the crux of the problem here.
Correct. So therefore regulation is required, and it probably requires a two-tier level of regulation to deal with that which is in the developed areas of South Africa and those which is in the less developed areas of South Africa, and to force the operators either through paying a particular tax or in a particular way through the auctioning off of the spectrum and use that money specifically for this purpose. The two telco operators and the mobile operators in South Africa is in the group of the most profitable mobile operators in the world. And thus it is a super profit scenario that we're sitting with in South Africa.
I mean, you speak with some of the telecoms operators that you're talking about, and their defense is that, according to their own research, South Africa has one of the most competitive data costs, particularly there on the continent. I mean, then how do you respond when you hear such?
If you're running a business which has got a 35% of every rand that they sell, i.e. 35 cents, is what they drop down to the earnings before interest and tax and depreciation, it's not a defensible position. That 35 cents of every rand that you sell, you can actually say, now this is available for me to buy new capital or to pay my taxes and then distribute it to shareholders. It's one of the highest in the world. It's not defensible.
And just to end on a positive note, David, if you can just talk to us about what government's Digital Industrial Revolution Commission can achieve, or how it can achieve its goals.
It should start. The digital revolution starts with access to the internet by everybody. We want to make a change economically in this country. Only 28% of the schools are connected with internet right now. Every school should be connected to the internet. And it should be a number one priority of this commission. Once they got that right, then they can overlay all the other AI, all the other components onto that. Because you need to broaden the footprint of IT literacy in South Africa. Once you've got that right, you've got a better fertile ground to grow and advance South Africa.
Well, David, thanks so much for those insights. That was David Meintjes, who is the MD of Connection Telecom.